I'm not sure. Don't know. Let's go. We'll watch it. We'll see what happens.
Geology, who is sponsoring today's video, which means we'll have an ad from them somewhere in the middle. I've tried to record this video multiple times, but every time that I do, the information is out of date and then I have to record it again. We're doing it today. I'm putting my foot in the sand, okay? Palworld, ladies and gentlemen, you've probably heard of it. Is a millennial near you beating up animals with baseball bats and then forcing them as some sort of sick slave labor to make a house? Welcome to Palworld. Palworld, which is being called Pokemon with Guns, but is actually much more a survival game. I would call it Conan Exiles with Pokemon. It's much more like Ark than it is like Pokemon. Functionally is definitely leaning into Pokemon for marketing purposes. I mean, if you're gonna cling on to anybody, why not make it the biggest brand of all time? Pokemon is the biggest
that does make sense
brand ever. It's so goddamn big. I say unsurprisingly with my Gyarados over here, and there's like a Pikachu over here, and got 2 Pokemon tattoos. I get it. But Palworld has very much taken the internet by a storm, both extremely positively for the creators and extremely negatively for the discourse. So if you didn't already know, from Rock Paper Shotgun here, Palworld continues to break records with 1.8 million concurrent players on Steam, which is the second highest ever. It's insane. In the past 24 hours, the peak concurrent player count reached 1.8
Can you just imagine, right? Bless their little souls. You just got this, like, sweet little, like, company that just wants, like, oh, we're going to make this game. Yeah, they pop their Pokemon in there or whatever, but they made this, like, survival game and whatnot. And they probably just thought they were going to make, like, X amount of money, like this much money, right? And like they were going to get X amount of players, which is like this amount of players. And then they release it and it literally blows up to what? 6 million purchases in 4 days. How insane is that? Like that company is like financially set forever now. Like how crazy. You watch though, mark my words, there's going to be so many Pokemon like imitations or Palworld imitations going on now. Now 8 million, right? Is it 8 million now? See, do you know what I mean? Like, but it's gonna start like a whole new thing where, you know, when there was the first found footage movie, Paranormal Activity. I know it's not the first one, but the first big one that was huge and successful. And then after that, it was like everyone was doing this. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. I reckon after the success of Palworld, we're going to see so many like retries of it from other companies. Like when DBD came out, and suddenly there's all these like 4 people co-op games and blah 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 blah. But just imagine though, like I don't know, wander off into that little conversation now. But like, how crazy is that they made this tiny little game? None of their other games are blown up, and then they made this, and it's just kind of gone like. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely crazy.
And highest of any game on Steam ever. It took that spot from Counter-Strike 2, and the only game to reach higher is now PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, aka PUBG. PUBG is still pretty far ahead with 3.2.
You know all these stats? Here's a question then. You know all these stats that people are doing, like the 8 million purchases, the concurrent viewers, blah, blah, blah. Does that count all the people playing it on Game Pass, or is that excluding Game Pass? So the concurrent players is all Steam. Are the purchases all Steam? Because I assumed they were all Steam, but then I wasn't sure. I assumed that. So wait, I got that the wrong way around. I assumed the purchases were Steam because they're purchases, but I wasn't sure if the concurrent players was a Steam thing. Thank you for the follow. Or if they were also included in the Game Pass. Not that it matters. I'm just curious. Oh no, hang on. Hold on. 1.8 dead. If I literally just read game on Steam ever, literally says Steam ever. I expect comment to be both, but purchases Steam. It says literally Steam. What I need to do is open my eyes and ears, and I probably would have noticed that. Then imagine how many that to like actually go on to the next part. Imagine how many people are actually playing it, including Game Pass, because obviously you think like on Steam you have to have purchased it, but on Game Pass, obviously if you already have Game Pass, you have access to it for free. It's not free, but you know what I mean. So imagine how many people are playing it on Game Pass as well, as on, because most people that I know, believe it or not, playing it are playing it on Game Pass. Like I don't I know more people on Game Pass than I know on Steam because they don't want to pay the money until they know if they like the game. They already pay for Game Pass, blah, 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 blah. So I know more Game Pass players than I do Steam ones. 99% play on Steam because Game Pass is far behind. But then you got to think of the money side of it. Because, like, yeah, you know, like, people who can't afford it or don't want to buy it on Steam when they have access to it already kind of thing.
2 million?
And on Game Pass, you could pay £1 for a month, and then you could have access to it for a month for £1. So there's that as well.
And I actually have no doubt that Palworld will have trouble beating that because it is also on Game Pass. The fact that it launched on PC in early access and on Game Pass at the same time means it's split across platforms. The Xbox Achievement Hunter crowd.
Hey, Moxie, how you doing?
Millions of people. It also had an absolutely enormous weekend, selling 5 million copies, overtaking Cyberpunk 2077 in Steam's most played games list. It's nuts. This game is so goddamn successful and so quickly. And with that, and with Pokemon fans, comes some like extreme ire, some hefty vitriol. People are really upset about this game. People were upset with me for playing it, and there are a lot of conversations that have come up about the game in terms of copyright, or if it's plagiarism, or if it's using AI. And the AI one is the one that I first spoke about. As far as I can tell, the accusation that Palworld uses AI for its monster designs
I have quite a strong
came from
opinion
some totally like uncredited random
on the AI
who
thing.
basically just accused it of that. There is no evidence at all that the game uses AI in any facet. The best link there even is that the studio that makes Palworld has previously made a game using AI art. And I hate that we're in a landscape where technically it's possible that they could be using AI in terms of asset generation, which don't even get me started on how infuriating the AI conversation is. Let's just sidebar real quick for AI, okay? I'm not going to get into the ethics too extensively because the last episode of my podcast, which goes on this channel, which I have with game director Mike Bithell and video game composer Austin Wintory, we talk very extensively about the ethics of AI in the future. But it just...
I don't know what her take is on AI, but I have quite a strong opinion in the fact that I don't see the problem with it. Like, I think that anybody who has a problem with it shouldn't use a lot of technology that is given out these days. Like, obviously, I wanted to kind of say it before she said it. So it's like, just in case, I don't know, it sounds like she has a negative opinion towards it, whereas I have a positive opinion towards AI-generated stuff. Not necessarily in the fact that, obviously, it takes work from artists. It's like, well, sort of, but not. Because if they're going to make the AI-generated images, they probably weren't going to use your art anyway. Your art also gets put onto the internet, which actually goes into the AI stuff. And also, in the end, if everyone keeps using AI generated images, they're all taken from the internet, which means everything that goes on the internet will be more AI generated images, which means in the end it'll be so convoluted with AI generated images that it will all start to look like the same. Which means when some artist comes in and does this amazing original thing, everyone's going to go, holy shit, I want that. That is amazing. I've not seen anything like that. And then artists will go full circle again. Like, it's just the circle of life. And it's no different to the fact that we have self-service checkouts in stores, yet we still use them. I said this like about a couple of days ago. Like, people say they don't want AI to take over everything, but they're more than happy to use computer generating software-y, like lifestyle-y stuff. Like, it's like, if it's a convenience for you, people will use it. So whether it's AI generated assets, AI generated art, whether it's self-service checkouts, if it's got anything to do with AI, I don't have a problem with AI at all. I think that AI is the natural evolution that we are creating by wanting technology. Like, we want computers, we want things to be voice recognition, we want things to recognize our face, we want filters on everything. Like, do you know what I mean? We want all of the technology, and these people who get mad about it are doing so enjoying other points of technology that the human race are making. So when it comes to I'm a bit like, the only thing that bothers me with AI is not knowing what is real anymore. There are other game trends, new songs from artists, and bad is often not true. I mean, to an extent, yes, but kind of, does it really matter? Like, if I want to listen to a song and if, for example, AI takes a Taylor Swift song and then makes it again and it sounds just like Taylor Swift, and they took her stuff, I mean, there's copyright involved, so this can't happen, but let's just pretend. That's kind of like not cool, right? Obviously, because it's Taylor Swift's song. However, if a pretty female singing AI makes a song and I'm like, ooh, this is nice to listen to, that's all I'm really asking for music. Do you know what I mean? Like, so as long as the AI doesn't take an exact replica and then claim it as their own, which they won't because that's kind of not what it does, that I'm like, that's obviously not cool. But that's the same in any industry. That's the same in, I can't take a picture and redo it and then call it my own. Based on that, any tech and science could have a big problem. It's how it's used. Everything has pros and cons. Everything always will. Yeah, 100%. I just think that anything to do with AI. So when I heard about Palworld maybe having AI stuff, I mean, it turns out that it's not true, which is fine. But even if it was true, I just don't see the problem. Because I'm like, as long as they don't take someone else's work and then claim that identical work as their own, it's essentially just computer inspired stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's no different from me looking at somebody and therefore assets and therefore any AI related technology. It's no different from me going, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, I saw somebody holding a business card thingy and I'm going, that's a really good idea. I'm going to make one that is a slightly different shape. I took inspiration from that. So AI is just an automatically generated system that's doing exactly what the human race does. So it's like, why can't AI do that? Why can't companies use the benefit of AI to make their stuff be made faster, swifter, but hopefully better than people who don't? So as soon as I heard about Palworld, I was like, so, and what? Same way I don't care that Palworld has copied Pokemon characters, because I'm like, they've taken inspiration from Pokemon. Yes, it looks similar. Yes, some of it looks tackily similar, but it's like, it's all within the same branch. I just don't really see a problem with it. So I did, like I said before, Game Freak, Pokemon, Nintendo had all the opportunity to make the game like Palworld, but didn't. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So bad that we're now at a point where we don't know if something is AI or not. I highly doubt Palworld is AI because AI, frankly, is currently not that good yet, and I don't see why the company who has previously advertised a game as using AI, seemingly with a head of studio who is pro AI, wouldn't just say that Palworld uses AI. But there's no evidence that it does. But it just, how existentially terrifying that we're already at a point where we don't know if things are AI or not. I've been seeing that with people talking about doctor photos from Israel and Gaza, that they don't know if these photos are AI on it. Like, this is just, wow, that's horrifying. The second thing that came out that some of you may have seen was a Twitter thread from somebody who basically compared the Palworld 3D models to those in Pokemon. Let me pull that up for you. So this account, Biofrog, I think they might have changed their username a number of times, made videos putting models of Pokemon against models from Palworld and seeing how well their mesh overlaps. It says, TFW, you and your cousin have exactly the same proportions. They then followed up and said, I feel a little regretful for using exactly so flippantly here. I was trying to be silly, but I think it gave an incorrect impression. I want to emphasize that while some elements are similar, these meshes are not literally exact copies of each other. They then kind of admitted to incorrectly scaling the models, and then said, I'm doing this because I think it's disgusting how much Palworld glorifies animal abuse, which I swear this has to be a troll. You can't be serious. This has to be.
Little did she know.
This was the case either. As where it stands legally, I'm not a lawyer, but I am pretty familiar with Nintendo. I think we all are, and I cannot see a world in which Nintendo wouldn't have already sued the hell out of this
literally,
game
exactly.
when it was revealed in 2021. If they thought that it was infringing on their copyright, which is a complicated beast, I'm so certain that Nintendo would have already taken it down. They have come out and made a statement. They said, inquiries regarding other companies' games. We received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January.
You 100% can.
Not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon.
Bandy's entered the giveaway for a friend.
Game.
Do
we
it.
intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. The Pokemon Company. Rock Paper Shotgun actually spoke to a lawyer about this one. And there are a few takeaways in this article. It's really interesting. I'll leave a link in the description. But ultimately, Cotton, the lawyer that they spoke to, said that he thinks Pokemon and Pals are sufficiently different that there's no problem. Because they do look different in pretty much every way. I mean, I have a lot of criticisms of Game Freak and the way that they make games. I think it's absolutely absurd that Pokemon is the highest grossing franchise, and that I love Pokemon, and that I spend a lot of money on Pokemon, and that at the same time, despite that tremendous amount of income and that they keep making money off of me, they still release games that don't function, look leagues behind every other game, even on Nintendo hardware.
I will say, so I've not played a Pokemon game since Nintendo DS, right? Long time ago. But obviously Tia has all the Pokemon games on her Switch. Yeah, so I've not played a Pokemon game since they've been on the Switch. So I had no idea that the games weren't good. Like, I think that they didn't run well, or that they were glitchy, or bugs, or whatever, however you want to put it. I had no idea. I don't feel like Tia ever said to me that, I usually lurking every time I see the dress looks like, you're so sweet. Thank you. But yeah, I don't remember Tia telling me that the game was glitchy and everything. And then when this came out, and obviously everyone's saying, like, how this game runs so well, and Nintendo don't make a good game, and they haven't made a good Pokemon game, and then I read an article about one of the games was really, really, really buggy, and then instead of fixing it, they released 2 buggy DLCs or something. I'm not really sure which one it was, because they all just like merge into one. But yeah, so like I had no idea that they made bad games. It's kind of crazy to me. The more I hear that, the more people that say it, like that they're not like well-made games. Do you know what I mean? The other handheld was way better than the new crap handheld games. Was it really? See, because when I was younger, I remember Pokemon being a good game. Like, it ran well, as far as I remember. And then the DS, I think it was fine. And I've not played it on Switch, so I don't know. But, like, it's just crazy to me that it takes this game to kind of go, because it has Pokemon lookalikes, to kind of, like, really put a spotlight on the fact that Pokemon makes rubbish games. Like, I had no idea. Like, none.
Just hideously ugly. Like, it is inexcusable to me that you can make that much money and be that successful, release the amount of games that you do, and have the quality be as low as it is, and the problem is that we keep buying them, right? That's the problem. And realistically, part of the reason that nobody is going to be confusing Palworld for Pokemon is kind of that Palworld looks better, which is crazy. Game Freak, really be up to some business. So obviously there are some pals that are very, very similar to Pokemon. Some that I think are stretches. People are comparing these two things. I mean, I'm calling them in-game. The one that looks like Xerneas, I called not Xerneas. The one that acts like a Flareon, I called not Flareon. I think it's called like Firefox or something. But there are some that it's like, oh, you copied it because it's a snake. No, it's just a snake. That's how snakes look. You know what I mean? As for if this is almost definitely yes. There is no world in which the game studio who is making this, who has a previous game that is so clearly just a ripoff of Breath of the Wild, is even trying to hide that this is plagiarism. And it is a thing that Palworld should be criticized for. I think 2 things can be true at once. One, Game Freak really needs to get their shit together, and that I am sort of hoping that the one outcome of this will be that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company or Nintendo go, wow, we have some actual competition for the first time in our entire lives. Maybe we do need to improve the quality of our games. Arceus very easily could have been a lot more like something like Palworld, something that actually molded the genre. It is a unique game. They made some changes. I like Arceus. I had a lot of fun with it, but it doesn't push the Pokemon formula, I think, quite as much as that I hoped that it would, in a way that something like Palworld is an entirely different experience. I mean, Palworld is, again, it's mostly Conan Exiles, it's mostly Ark, but it's also got some Zelda, and it's got some Pokemon, and it's got some Elden Ring as well, kind of, with the boss encounters. And again, I don't think they're hiding that any plagiarism exists, and I don't think this is a positive. I do think that Palworld should be criticized for doing this, and I think that they should adapt and change. They should take that criticism and go, okay, let's get rid of the ones that are clearly just copied designs and come up with our own unique designs. Like, that pressure is good. That is one of the main things worth criticizing the game for.
The thing I will say is that I bet when they copied them, like, obviously I don't know, this is my, like, made up silly opinion, but I bet when they basically copied them, they probably thought their game was going to be this big, so therefore, not that it didn't matter, but they probably just kind of a bit like, oh, everyone loves Eevee, let's make an Eevee, everyone loves Flareon, let's make a Flareon, but we'll call it something different, because we know that everyone loves it. So they're probably more likely kind of doing it, not expecting that big of an attention at it, do you know what I mean? So I'm guessing, probably going forward, they're not going to do the same thing. Like, they're not going to make the same mistake twice, are they? But at the same time, like, it's quite smart to do because they put themselves on the map. Is it tacky? Yes. Should they probably have made them look a little bit different? Yes. However, has it caused the entire game to go and like now everyone knows what this is, and because it's going big, but the more drama, meaning more sales, like in a way, there's like, do you know what I mean? There's no such thing as bad press cutting. I mean, there is, but you know what I mean. Like going forward, they probably won't do it again. But in a way, like it's kind of done them a favor by doing it. Because people who are, like, obviously, like I said, I haven't played the game yet. We're going to be playing in a little bit. But she keeps saying that the game is not like Pokemon, other than it has Pokemon lookalikes. So it's like, if they hadn't have made Pokemon lookalikes, would it have, made such a big impact? Probably not. And it's like, now they're like this, like, big game of something that's actually not even slightly Pokemon-like, other than the animals kind of look the same. Pokemon need to fix that. Palworld should push them to improve. Providing Nintendo don't come down and ruin them, they will be fine. I don't think they would have done it because it's been going on for so long now. Do you know what I mean? It definitely reaches a larger audience because of it. Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%. And I just think the next game they do, they just won't copy Pokemon. Maybe they'll copy, like, I don't know. I can't think of another big franchise. Like, I can't think. But yeah.
Though it's currently in early access, it's also pretty buggy. There are facets of the gameplay loop that I find very boring. There are things worthy of criticism. Plagiarism is one of them. Also, as an aside, I feel like we always just pretend that Pokemon was the first one to come up with Pokemon. Have you heard of Dragon Quest? Pokemon didn't even invent the Pokemon formula. Even the card game, Magic the Gathering, is
yes!
Pokemon is directly copied from Magic the Gathering. Like, the two things
yes!
It's just blatant. Pokemon 100% plagiarized Magic the Gathering in terms of, like, actual function of mechanics. Obviously not in terms of monster design, they're quite different. All of this to say, truly, I don't actually know how I feel about Palworld currently. I don't know what my current opinion is on this. I feel like I need to, like, sit with it for longer. I do think it's a pretty solid survival game that does a lot of very smart things that people are probably going to enjoy for longer. I don't think this is going to be dead in 2 weeks as the internet is suggesting. I do feel like somebody even vaguely appearing as threatening to the Pokemon franchise and thus making Game Freak have to consider quality a little bit more, which I don't even really blame them for, to be clear. Like, I don't even really blame the dev team. It's such a publisher problem that when this studio makes so much money clearly on not enough staff and is still forced to release games every year, like, why would you increase budgets? They don't need to. We keep fucking buying them. I'm a part of the problem. And I really do find it, like, existentially.
I think this all the time. Like, when you look at games like Pokemon or FIFA or Call of Duty, they're like my main three ones that I always think of with this. Even Zelda, the latest Zelda, did it, where they make a new game and it's the same game over and over and over. And it's like you think a lot of the time, oh my god, like, you know, sort of, why are they just copy and pasting the game? Copy and pasting the game. World of Warcraft, blah, blah, blah. But then people do keep buying it. And I'm like, why are you guys buying it, Lee? With a stupid Call of Duty. Like, why keep buying the same game over and over and over and over again? Like, no, like, of course they're not going to, like, put that much effort in. And it's the same as, like, what is it? What do they call it when you create, like, a monopoly of on something or whatever? If they have no competition, then they're like the all-powerful. They don't need to work harder. Blizzard is the World of Warcraft is the all-powerful MMO. Like, so they're not going to make the effort. And then you get these other little MMOs popping in and trying to, like, steal it, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, Pokemon, whilst it doesn't have any competition, there's not another game like Pokemon with a big enough name of franchise that people just keep buying the same rubbish over and over and over. Like, why would they put that much effort into it? I wish they would. I wish they had enough passion that it mattered more. For example, Baldur's Gate 3. They took so long to make that game. It was in early access for so bloody long. Everyone thought it was never going to come out. Think like Fable, you know, that hasn't actually ever going to... I swear that game's never coming out. But we all thought the same for Baldur's Gate. And then it turns out they were just really goddamn passionate about their game. And they made a bloody good game. Instead of making Baldur's Gate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 10 DLCs, blah, 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 blah. They took years to make the game. Like, I'd wish more developers would do that. Like, it's kind of sad that they get, like, famous and they get, like, a big name for themselves and then they just kind of start spewing out the same bit, and they kind of lose the passion, and over time it becomes so money orientated. Obviously it's not just the devs, like she says, like the whole thing, it's so money orientated that it's like it matters about quantity instead of quality. That's where the problem is. And like even WoW does it. Like WoW is forced to release a new expansion every 2 years with so many patches in it, and they're just kind of like regurgitating the same crap that we've had the whole time. And then no one likes the expansion, but then they're already working on the next expansion because they have to get an expansion done within the deadline, but there's clearly not enough resources, not enough people who actually give a crap about the stuff that's not just like the office suit and ties, you know what I mean? And it's like the same thing everywhere, so it's like same thing for Pokemon. So I think it's really, really, really healthy when, no matter what the industry, you have somebody who comes in, like Palworld to Pokemon, like some, I don't know, if Ashes of Creation ever comes out, Ashes of Creation to World of Warcraft. Like, I think it's really important that each big industry, big name in each industry, like, has competition so they don't get, like complacent. That's the word I'm looking for. Complacent with it. And if you're not challenged, you can't evolve. Exactly. Because why would you? If you're going to make $1 million on this item here, or you could work extra hard and probably still make $1 million because all the same fans are going to buy it, why would you put all that effort in when you could go home to your family? Do you know what I mean?
Really terrifying that we're at a point where I don't know if something is actually AI or not. Like that frightens me for mankind. Like, if we can't tell if something politically motivated is real or not, information effectively ceases to exist. Like, we don't actually have information anymore. You can't verify something.
I mean, yes and no. That's no different, kind of, than people getting together and starting, like, a story or, like, making something up. And if there's no evidence to prove it doesn't exist and no evidence to prove that it does, that's no difference to AI making up something that doesn't exist or making up something that does. But yeah, like, I just don't see how that's any, like, say we don't know what's real because of AI, it's like a picture is made and we don't know if AI made that picture, but you also don't know if a person doctored that picture because they wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like yes and no, but that already exists in the world with bad people. It's just probably faster now and maybe harder to tell, but it's like that kind of already exists.
Through an image or a video, which is how we've done it for so long. It's so easy to fake stuff these days. I just find that to be the most terrifying takeaway from this, to be honest. And I don't think that Pocket Pair is a good ethical company. This doesn't feel to me like one of those situations where it's like, oh, this indie dev worked hard and made something cool and made a bunch of money. When you look at the other stuff they've made, they've very, very clearly tried to copy off of bigger games repeatedly until one of them became a success. It's a shitty practice. Like, I'm not a fan of them doing that. This is not a company that I'm, like, super happy for them to be rich, which they now definitely are. Even if I think Palworld is a pretty solid game, there's no innovation here, and there's plenty of innovation in the indie space. And of course it makes sense that Palworld has popped off in the way that it has because of the elements it combines. Successful marketing.
I don't agree with her
but
there
it's kind
either.
of complicated. I've never seen anything like it. It'll be really interesting to see if they get sued. Nintendo is a very sue-happy company, in my opinion. But I do feel like if they had means to do it, they would have already done it. And I'm sure they will try as hard as they can, to be honest, especially considering how exponentially successful Palworld has become. But I also don't know how that will go. And also, dear God, stop saying you don't like AI in video games. You have to dislike specific kinds of AI. You can't dislike all of it. All games have AI.
I kind of don't agree with her where she says that it's a shitty practice to imitate other games, because that would mean that we can't ever make a Metroidvania game because there's been successful Metroidvanias. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just use that one as an example. Like, to say they've constantly tried to rip off other games, everything is a rip off. Try coming up with a, like, like, oh my God, original idea these days. Like, these days, it's not, that's like 85% close to Hollow Knight. Yeah, but like, I mean, like, they have to get their ideas from somewhere. It's tacky to, like, you know, take the Pokemon face and put it on their thing. It's tacky to take Hollow Knight and use the same graphic ideas as them. However, it's like, to make an original idea, that would mean that we can barely make anything ever anymore because, like, you know, like, how many original ideas are, like, how hard is it to come up with an original idea? Like, if I was to say to all of us right now, come up with an idea for a game that has never been used, it would be so bloody hard to do. Ashes of Creation, I will use it. Big hype, everyone's so crazy about it. It's basically a rip-off of all previous MMOs, if you want to put it like that. It's not, because that's what the game and genre is. But they're all doing the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, in a genre, it's so hard not to imitate something. So it's like, it's tacky to copy the little bug dude. I don't know if they did. They didn't know they did. It was like a girl. It'd be tacky to copy the bug dude or copy the same stick that he's holding. But it's not incorrect practice, because that's what every goddamn game that comes out is from. Look at every game that has, I don't know which one was the original, so let's go with Poppy Playtime. You got Poppy Playtime, Garden of Banban, Joyville, I'm sure there's like a couple of other ones we've seen or whatever, and it's like they're all the same thing. So why aren't they being attacked for plagiarism and bad practice and blah 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 blah? Do you know what I mean? Like, or like, how many wannabe Minecrafts came out after Minecraft? They all failed, but there were loads of those kind of games. So it's like, why is this the only company that is being targeted for copying other games just because one of theirs became successful? Like, that's it. It's like, but all these other games are the same. Like, FIFA is not an original football game. Everything has aspects mechanics or something else. They've gone a little close to the line, though, especially with some of the monsters. So I can see, yeah, like I said, it's tacky. I wouldn't go as far to say they don't deserve to be rich based on what they're doing.